Hey guys, Aries here. So I made a couple videos before about carrying his top lane, carrying his ADC, and I figured since I still see people thinking that supports can't carry, I thought I'd answer that and make a video about it. So I also posted this yesterday, or depending on when this video comes out, the other day, on my page, basically talking about carrying as support, picking proper champions to do that. And yeah, so I'll answer that right now. So basically, to carry in solo queue as support, you have to do a couple things that people might not be used to doing as a support player. And the first thing, I guess, as any guide or any tip or demonstration would be selecting proper champions. So over here, I made a quick little tier list. Not really a tier list, more of a solo queue priority list of the best support to play. So, of course, number one, I would pick Blitzcrank. Now, I don't like playing Blitzcrank. I don't like Blitzcrank, as the champion, really at all. He's a champion that should not be as good as he is, and because of that, I just don't like him. But I recognize him as being the best solo queue support. So the thing about Blitzcrank is, against a good team, you should never be able to be in a position to land a hook, and because of that, he's pretty much useless. But since people are not perfect and it's solo queue, you're able to land a lot of hooks, and that's really the thing that blows my mind, because he's such an easy champion to counter and make useless that he should never be picked. But because of mistakes and all that stuff, he's really, really strong. So yeah, so Blitzcrank number one. Number two, I'd put Fiddlesticks and Annie. But, if Fiddlesticks isn't your thing, if you don't know how to play him, if he's picked jungle or whatever, don't worry. But again, his ultimate, and just playing him very sneakily, you can wreck a team even if you're support. So again, he's a really strong pick. The 2.5 second fear into the silence, potentially AoE silence into a single target fear, that's crazy. That's really, really strong. And his burst potential. Annie, of course, she can nuke down a carry. She scales extremely well without items, and because ADCs, APCs, most of that, assassins even, they don't build a lot of defenses, she doesn't need a lot of items to actually get rolling. And because of this, you can, kind of like LeBlanc, where you can basically get in to the backline and explode the ADC. So Annie's really strong. DFG's Mobies, or even Frost Queen's Claim into Mobies, roaming around the map, killing a bunch of people. Really, really good. Leona and Thresh, I kind of put below that, because they aren't your upfront damage supports, so they do rely on the team to follow up. Now, Thresh, I would not recommend playing if you are not a Thresh main. He requires pretty good champion knowledge to play him properly, and he's the high mechanic support. So unless you're very comfortable with him and everything he does and all his combos and everything like that, either practice him or don't play him in ranked. So Leona's a little bit easier, because she's a CC bot, pretty much. She can lock down a carry, lock down a team, or peel for your carry, peel for your team. Either that, and she, apart from Alistar, is arguably the only other tanky support. Of course, now there's Braum, so that's okay, cool. But I don't really put Alistar up there because Leona has lane phase, Alistar does not. Alistar is more of closer to Janna, where he's very babysit. So you're not going to say, I'm playing Alistar, let's wreck the laning phase, because most of the time that's not going to happen. He's easily poked out, and yeah. So Leona, she has a level 2 spike, a level 4 spike, and then once level 6 hits, you basically win lane. So if you can win lane with Leona, you can scale and snowball extremely well into the mid and late game, and just completely wreck the enemy team. Thresh, again, he is a lot like that, but he doesn't get that tanky. He's more utility. He's closer to Lulu than he is to Leona, and because of that, they just have different playstyles. But Thresh relies a little more on the team. Leona just kind of goes in, and then there's follow-up, and you win the game. Below that, I'd put down your more of your hard carry, off carry supports. So Karma, Zyra, Morgana, Brand. You can also throw Lux in there. You can throw Lee Sin in there. They are your more utility-focused AP supports. So you could throw Lulu in there, Sona in there, but Sona, Lulu, they're more utility than they are damage. So Zyra, Karma, they have lots of disengage and a ton of damage. So Zyra's combo can kill a carry easily. Same thing with Karma. If you throw down enough Qs on them, they'll just explode. Morgana, again, if you land a binding, you basically win the game. And yeah, so that's why they are there. Brand is like Morgana, but where Morgana has CC and disengage and utility with her shield, Brand has damage. So again, he can explode a team, and these champions don't require a lot of AP to do that. So they scale really well without items that can basically turn a game around. But yeah, so let's talk about how you should actually be playing these kind of supports. And I'm going to use Blitzcrank, Annie, Fiddlesticks, Leona, Thresh as an example because and this is why these 4 champions are at the bottom. They are really strong, but they can't do what these other champions can do. And that is mid lane roams. So yeah, so what you're going to do, I'll just give Blitzcrank or Leona, Thresh an example of this, is you'll go into lane, let's say you're red side, whatever. Beginning of the game, you can mess with the enemy Krugs, I guess, or Gromp, wherever the enemy's starting. Mess with that a little bit. If for whatever reason you see that they're actually starting the buff, you can pull them over the wall. That's same thing, the Blitzcrank standard pressure, and have some fun with that. Okay, so in the laning phase, it's basically land a hook, land a Zenith Blade, something like that. Basically bully them out of lane. You're basically setting up the laning phase so that you're able to recall. When you recall, you're going to buy a couple potions, you're going to get your Mobies first, and most of the time you're going to start off with Face of the Mountain. Face of the Mountain is, or not Face of the Mountain, Relic Shield. So what Relic Shield does, apart from Ancient Coin, is it transfers more gold to your ADC. So Ancient Coin and Frost Queen's Claim, they are items that benefit the support more than they benefit the carry. The Relic Shield benefits the carry more than it benefits the support. So that's a really good item to snowball your carry. Of course, get what's it called? Spell Thief's Edge, the blue one. Get the blue one on Annie. It gives her everything she wants. You're not going to get Face of the Mountain on Annie anyways. So that's fine. Also, Blitzcrank. It gives you the heal. It allows you to secure minion kills for your carry. It's really, really good. But yeah. So what you're going to do is bully the enemy out of lane. Recall, buy, get your Mobies if you can. Get a couple wards and a couple potions, and you're going to run mid. So what you're going to do is you basically bully your bot lane out of lane, recall, roam mid, try and get a pull. If you get a pull, again, that's a summoner burnt, that might be a kill, something like that. You're forcing the mid lane back to the tower, and then that allows you to rotate this way, check this brush, check over here, place a green ward in here, place a pink ward in here. If you show with a pink ward, don't place the pink in here. You can rotate back, place a green ward in here, and go through and try and pressure your lane again. So this works with Blitzcrank, this works with Thresh, Annie, kind of Fiddlesticks, Leona. The only thing with the squishier supports like Thresh, Annie, Fiddle is you'll have to be a little more careful while rotating through the enemy jungle. So maybe you aren't able to go as deep as this because you're more susceptible to getting caught out and killed. So Blitzcrank, Leona, they are a lot more tanky, and Blitzcrank has his speed boost, so he is able to get these deep wards like that. And this might be a lot different than the conventional support play that you might see in solo queue, where they just kind of babysit their ADC. What this does is again, you're winning bot lane, or you're pressuring bot lane. You're still having as much influence on the bot lane as you were previously, but now instead of just messing with the 2 people bot lane, you're messing with a 3rd person mid lane, and then maybe even a 4th person in the bottom half of the jungle, because you have complete jungle control at this point. So yeah, and this is really good for Blitzcrank. This is why I put Blitzcrank number 1. He's able to recall and get to a lane relatively fast with his speed boost, pull somebody, and then grab jungle control, and then go back to lane and just rinse and repeat. Again, Thresh can do this, similar thing, but his hook isn't as aggressive as Blitzcrank's. Leona can do the same sort of thing, but she requires a little more follow-up from her mid laner, where because she's going to her target, she's not pulling her target to her. Annie, again, needs a little bit of follow-up because she's not moving the target at all, where Blitzcrank and Leona have that displacement. Annie has more damage. She does have the stun, though, so that's really nice. And if you can tell your jungler to rotate mid as you go mid, you can 3-man their mid laner and then pressure the tower heavily and then go clear their jungle. So Yeah, so this is the proper way to play support in solo queue, but the big thing here is make sure your ADC knows what's going on. Make sure you tell your ADC, I'm roaming mid, stay safe. Because most of the time, ADCs that I find in solo queue are completely oblivious to everything. They'll push up here when they're alone, they'll get ganked, and then they'll blame their support. So this also goes in the whole mute your team or mute your ADC while you do this, but make sure your ADC knows to stay a little bit behind and just freeze the lane. Your ADC should just be trying to farm in the laning phase. And as a support, you're basically just making sure that your ADC can farm safely. If your ADC gets cut out because they're like pushed up here alone, that's not your fault as support. At that point, you know, if your ADC is toxic and flaming you or is just really bad, don't be bot lane most of the time. Like, try to get your mid lane rolling. Try and get your jungler rolling. Make sure your ADC is still safe, but as a support, you're not stuck in the bot lane. I would not recommend going top, at least early on in the game, because again, you're going to have to go top, recall, then go bottom. If you go mid lane, it's more of a fluid rotation, because you can rotate mid lane, burn some summoners, get a kill, and then you can fluidly rotate through, and then you're back right away. You don't have to recall again and then run through the lane. So yeah, so that's Blitzcrank, that's Leona, Fiddle, Annie, Thresh, and that's why they are, in my opinion, some of the best support solo queue champions. Again, Karma, Zyra, Morgana, Brand, they can do similar things, but they just don't have that much impact on the early stages of the game. They're more played for team fights, they're poking, they're really annoying champions, and like they are still good. I would recommend playing them in solo queue, but they cannot do the things that a Blitzcrank can. And yeah, so you, again, do the same things on Annie, get mobility boots, and just start roaming around mid and bottom in the jungle, and just start pressuring, annoying the shit out of your enemy team, and just gaining that global presence and global map control through your warding. Again, deep warding, and then mid and bottom presence. And I'll just say it again, this way is better because you're impacting 4 people on your team, 4 people on the enemy team, instead of the 2 people in the bot lane. So again, you're messing with the mid laner, the jungler, the bot lane, which is the ADC and the support. So this ensures that as a support player, you have as much global presence throughout the entire game as possible, versus just being stuck in bot lane with an ADC who you don't know if they're able to carry because it's solo queue and you might not know who they are. So yeah, I would recommend watching, I forget what it is. I think if you go to YouTube and type in Mata Season 4 or Pre-Season 5 Blitzcrank. There's a really good video by Mata, and there's a very good video by Faker, where they play Blitzcrank support, and they end up roaming deep jungle wards, and they end up carrying the game. So these are kind of the model games that I would recommend watching if you want to pick up Blitzcrank. In terms of builds, you can go Face of the Mountain, in like Relic Shield, Moby's Sightstone into Frozen Heart, and then get a Locket of the Iron Solari, and basically play it shield comp. Nowadays, you don't necessarily need to get the Mikhails because it just costs so much. So yeah, go Frozen Heart first on Blitzcrank because it gives you the mana, it gives you the cooldown reduction. It's just really nice to have. Because you're not getting the tier, you don't have a lot of mana, so don't be blowing it a lot. It's all about mana control while roaming around the map. So hopefully you've benefited from watching this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments or message me on Facebook. If you message me on YouTube, I might not get it. I haven't been getting notifications through YouTube. But again, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, check out the links, and thanks for watching.